I've spoken to you guys about my obsession with Frida Kahlo since I was a teenager, and I just want to unpack it a little bit more. I don't actually understand where it came from. I did art in GCSE year 10, and I think my love for Frida was that she was just so unapologetic. She just did as she wished. She spoke her truth. And at the time, I really liked paintings and drawings that felt really raw, not the ones that looked pretty, but the ones that were really deep rooted in just bleh, this is what this is. I also liked Max Ernst at the time as well, because his paintings were very like nightmarish, and I don't know, it just, I liked stuff that was deeper than surface value, that you could really sit down and unpack and really talk about the story that went behind the painting, which I'm sure all paintings have a story, but these were so laced with lived experiences or just something that's much deeper than what we live in our day-to-day. These masks that we wear, it goes against the norm, and that's what I loved about Frida. So today is the 3rd of November, which is the day after the 2nd of November, obviously. And the 2nd of November is known as the Day of the Dead, that Mexicans celebrate a lot. Various countries do actually celebrate the Day of the Dead as well, but it differs in different spaces. And some countries were really influenced colonially by certain beliefs and religions that is kind of watered down how much they honor and remember their ancestors and their loved ones. No one does it like the Mexicans. The Mexicans go all out. They love their ancestors. I mean, not to say that other people don't love their ancestors and their relatives who've passed away, but the Mexicans make a big festival about it, because you know what? Let us remember the people who were here before. Let us remember the people that paved the way for us. Without them, we wouldn't be here. You know, let us respect those people, because we know that they had direct links to us being here. And not even just that, like a lot of these people have shaped who we are, right? So I remembered my daughter on the 1st of November, the Day of the Little Angels, and continued to have her altar and her space up until this morning, actually, which is the 3rd of November. And I just wanted to take some time to reflect and think about Frida as well, who was a Mexican woman, who I'm sure is and was remembered on the Day of the Dead as well, because she was very influential for the Mexican community. I know she was also of German descent somewhere, I think her dad, but she was a very proud Mexican woman. That's what I get from a lot of her work. So, right, I want to look at Frida through her motherhood, pregnancy and baby journey, because since growing up, right, I didn't understand the weight of it. Like, I kind of understood the weight of it, but I don't feel like that was as portrayed. Like the way art scholars speak about it, it's almost like it's just a period in time for her. But this isn't just a period in time. This is something that would have shaped and changed everything about her. Like, this informs who you are as a person, and it obviously informed a lot of her artwork. I actually want to share with you one of the first drawings that I have in this art book is the painting of my birth. So her, she called it My Birth, and this one was done in 1936. I don't know, I just love this so much. Let me even read why I chose. So I wrote here, at first glance, I thought this picture represented Frida's sadness for the loss of her child. But the title of this painting is My Birth. This confused me a bit. Therefore, I reasoned this painting's meaning. Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo's husband, encouraged her onto starting a project to document about the major events of her life. Therefore, this painting represents, as Frida mentioned, how I imagined I was born. In her diary, she also commented that she gave birth to herself. So essentially the baby is her, and that is her mum, who technically in that thing, in the painting, is dead. Um, I I think that this would have been a painting that has loads of different layers, and I still do believe that part of those layers would have been intertwined with her baby loss, and even her saying that she gave birth to herself. Well, actually, you know, I've said that about losing my daughter. I feel like I gave birth to a new me, like a new me was born, and that's why, for example, this page is called Thunderborn, because this new me was born too. Like, it changed every single thing about me. So there's that. I also really want to, I'm going to do like a little timeline, but I want to also remember that what Frida experienced isn't exactly what I experienced, and there are so many different layers that need to be acknowledged when it comes to losing a child. For example, Frida experienced 3 baby losses, which she speaks about. Frida, so what are the layers of recurrent loss, right? Recurrent miscarriage. I'm not going to use the word miscarriage because language is very important, and I really do believe that to say miscarried really just puts the onus on the person as not being able, right? You're not able enough, capable of carrying a child. So I'll just say baby loss, early loss. So she had that 3 times. How does that make you feel? You will feel guilt, you'll feel shame, you'll feel incompetent, like your body isn't doing what it was supposed to do. There are so many things that you would feel with that. Then not only has she experienced these losses, right? Frida also didn't go on to have any children, and someone pointed out to me, because I made a video that I posted on Instagram, and she said, you know, the feeling of being childless without choice, because she tried several times, right? It wasn't her choice. You are childless without choice. What does that make you feel like? And you have to look for different things in your life to be able to not feel that hole per se, but comfort that the pain that comes with that. And I really think her paintings and her artistic expression, so much so that Diego encouraged her to do this, would have had a major impact in soothing this reality, right? This pain of, you not only have you tried, but you have lost your children. They are not here, and now you don't have any living children as well. So again, different layers. And then something that someone else pointed out to me that I hadn't even recognized from the things that I'd been reading, is that Frida most definitely had a termination for medical reasons in her pregnancy, not once, but actually one of her first pregnancies that she'd lost, she actually pursued a medical abortion because she knew that she wouldn't be able to carry to term and that she was in so much pain. And what does that feel like, right? To go through TFMR, let's be so for real. Like, you feel like you're being forced to make a choice that you don't really want to make. You feel at fault, you feel guilt. It's a different layer of guilt, right? Because me, for example, I feel guilt that maybe I ate the wrong thing. Maybe, you know, I could have done better to notice that my daughter wasn't moving. All of these things, I still carry the guilt of, it was my fault that my baby died. But then when you experience TFMR, you carry that guilt because you know the journey you had to take in order to lose your baby, you know, and that's so painful, such a painful thing to carry. Not only the loss as well, but also the surgical procedure, like the pain of the physical pain of going through that. There are so many layers that we cannot forget. We must honor that. We must remember that when we are speaking about women who experience these things. Remember the weight of the things they carry through the journey that they have gone through. Now, Frida in 1925, I think, or when she was 18, she'd experienced a tram accident, which on collision, like obviously things were breaking apart and a metal pole went through her vagina, which essentially meant that she had to go through surgery, and it affected her ability later in life, which I'm sure she probably didn't think about when she was younger and went through that at the time. Or maybe she did. Maybe she did, maybe she was even told. that she wouldn't be able to have, carry a child to term. So it makes me really pained to see not only did she go through so much, and she was explicit in showing that. I've read that she was one of the only major artists at the time to depict this. And in fact, even when we look today, modern women, modern families don't often talk about baby loss. It's not something we speak about because just the world silences it first and foremost, and then you feel like a failure. There are so many layers, and also not even that, right? It's something sacred to you. You want to hold your child close, near and dear. So there are so many layers with that. Frida had this accident which went on to pave the rest of her, life essentially as well. And she spent a lot of her life in pain, right? Yeah, really just want to hold space, actually, silence, to honor that. Really want to do that. And it actually upsets me when art scholars just brush this under the carpet like it's nothing. Oh, she's not defined by motherhood. What do you mean? What an experience like that, and not just one experience, but this chain of events of several experiences, it is heartbreaking. I'm going to read a few things that I've pulled out. I really need to buy her diary. I've been wanting to do this for so long, and I haven't done this. And I just want to unpack what kinds of things she was talking about. And I need to go to Mexico, La Casa Azul. One day that's going to happen. But when it comes to speaking about her losses, I'm just looking over here. Frida often spoke to her friend, who was a Dr. Leo, and she sent a few letters to him. So when she was first pregnant, or one of her pregnancies, she spoke about, she spoke about how, actually not her pregnancy, but her loss. She spoke about how she had looked forward. I'm going to read it as it says. I so looked forward to having a little Dieguito that I cried a lot, but it's over. There is nothing else that can be done except to bear it, There's also another painting actually that I didn't mention, the one from Henry Ford, and that depicts her third loss, which is of her baby, who she was 3 months with, and she'd actually spoken to her friend Leo about. She sent him a letter asking him his opinion. What do you think? Should I tell Dr. Pratt to, have a termination of this pregnancy because I won't be able to carry to term? When she had actually seen the doctor had told her, baby's still fine, and you will be able to carry baby to term, like there's absolutely nothing wrong. And she was kind of, debating with her friend about what should she do. She doesn't know what to do, and she was worried, like she doesn't know what to do in this situation. Of course, it's no mother's intention, and for the fact, it's no mother's intention to lose her child or have to terminate a pregnancy, but she was in a position where it didn't happen. So then in the Henry Ford painting, she depicts, there's like different totems. I might put the picture here. One of them is her baby, and she'd actually asked the doctors when she was doing this painting if she could have like an anatomy of what babies look like, because she said that when she'd given birth to her son, his body was like in pieces, unfortunately, and so she wasn't able to have him whole, and so when she painted that, she'd asked and they said no. And I wonder why they said no. Like, what is that about? Could it be a thing which our society does all the time? It's like, don't let mum see, so that she doesn't get attached and she can just move on and do better and be better. I don't see how that is beneficial at all. But it could have been something like that. And so when she depicted her baby, he was translucent, and he's had his eyes closed, and you can see his penis. You could see just how detailed she depicted him, and so I feel like she might have seen him actually, and I know that it was saying that he was, you know, his body wasn't all together, but maybe it wasn't as separated as it describes. I mean, it doesn't go into much detail, but it makes me wonder. So another quote that she said was, "Painting completed my life. I lost 3 children and a series of other things that would have fulfilled my horrible life. My painting took place of all of this." So see how she's talking about them as children, like they are significant in her life, they are pivotal for her life, they shaped her. It's not just a fetus, which is described in some of the things that I'm reading, because this is the language that people would have used anyway. But these are her children. They're not just a mere thought, an idea, a hope, right? Because obviously when people experience early loss, there is this thing of like, it's not really a baby, but yes they are, because they would have been a full-fleshed human being, so that is a baby. In reading that, I think about like how when we talk about arts and crafts and how doing things, creating things, can really support our grief. And like that is why I'm doing a lot of creative stuff when it comes to my daughter, and I really understand that as well from Frida. There's also another quote which I can't find anymore about death, her own death, and how she welcomed it and she hoped to never return. And I think if you've lived a life full of pain, I can understand that. If you've lived a life full of losing things, like she mentioned herself, I can understand that. And just like most moms who experience that loss of their baby, a lot of us say, I would rather die, like I want to die. There's this moment where we do want to go, and that's what Frida kind of describes here as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I think needs to be unpacked. Like it's very brief from me. I could sit here and talk about it for days and days and days, but I really think that any scholar who talks about Frida's art and doesn't speak about her child loss, but not even just like a thing to say, it's more like, no, this is something that shaped her, you know. And it just makes me think about how, from a male perspective, the male lens, a lot of the things that we do experience in this life has been dominated by male gaze, and they water down these experiences, which I think is such a shame. Like we really need to unpack what it's like to experience something like this, and what does that mean once you experience something like this, especially with the weight of the world, in the sense of like, you know, how much importance we place on having children as a society, and then not being able to have children, what that makes you feel as a woman. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, you know, physically seeing yourself losing so much blood, going through that, losing your child, not being able to help them, not being able to make them survive, going through it multiple times, feeling like your body is betraying you. The fact of trying again, you know, when you experience loss once, trying again after is so jarring a process. I don't think jarring is a word, but it's like very tumultuous experience. And then not only did you try again once, but you tried again twice. You know, these are really key things to think about. The trauma that she would have experienced in the hospital, the seeing the children everywhere around her and not being able to have her own. All of these things matter. There was another line there that said, children are the days, they are the days. And here it stopped. Yeah. But I just want to leave here with the thought that Frida's motherhood journey, she should still be considered a mother. And I know that like maybe people feel different about that because of what that means, but I still think she should be considered a mother, because a mother who loses is still a mom, and to survive after experiencing loss of your child is incredibly painful. To dismiss that entire journey, that entire experience. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Please do share this with anyone who might be interested. I hope you liked it. Please do follow along. I speak here about many things and my journey of continuing my love, my relationship with my daughter, out loud, unapologetically. Yeah, thank you.